but why do men tend to be more logical and women tend to be more emotive?
Isn't it about the hormone balance? We're hormonal. We're more hormonal. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Isn't it about hormones? Like we have more happy hormones, unfortunately.
What more? What's it called? Serotonin, or what's the happy? Yeah, serotonin.
I don't know what it is, but like, yeah,
really
I don't know
weird.
what it's called. But like, we just have more a variety of hormones as well.
Yeah,
for different
serotonin.
things.
That's the happiness hormone.
Yeah, we have more. We're more affected by hormones than men are, I think. Right? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I mean, this I don't know.
Hormones that we have in our body.
I don't know.
I like this. Listen, this is a science lesson I didn't think I needed right now.
No, I think
I'm not sure about the science behind it, if I'm perfectly honest. All I know is that's kind of how Jehovah created us. Women, they're the weaker vessel, not in the sense that they're weak, they can snap, but we're just more affectionate. We're just more in tune with emotions than men are.
Also, we're the ones that give birth too, so we have to be. We have to be like all
Want to elaborate on
those. That's why I'm. It's all those hormones. Like you have to be like you have to show more to be more happy. You have to show to be more loving. You have to.
You know what about people like you?
Exactly. You break the norm.
Me? Yeah, I know I'm different, but then again, I treat children differently.
Wait, how do you treat children then?
If they, oh my goodness, when Rani was, so I have 4 younger sisters. So the second sister that I have, the second youngest, she let go of like a balloon and would cry about it every day. And every time she would step outside, she would remember that she let go of this heart-shaped balloon that said, "I love you" on it, right? She would cry every day and she'd tell me all about it and like whine all the time. And I would actually pretend to care. But here's the thing, I pretended to care and I was good at acting. That's the difference. You can't make them think that you don't care. You obviously have to pretend, fake it till you make it.
Exactly. That's the emotional side.
But I wouldn't do that to adults. Yeah. If you're above the age of 10,
if you're treating an adult like a child, that's not making any sense.
So you're being logical. You're being logical in your thought process because you're realizing this is a child. I need to use different approach that's being logical, not emotional. Because you're being logical to the fact that they have a different emotional need to an adult. Because if you can't really, if that was an adult, that you tell them to man up, grow up, get a new balloon and that. So
I know what you're saying exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's like.
But what I'm saying is like, men probably wouldn't do that for a child. Yeah. Because they don't necessarily, not that they don't show emotion, they wouldn't necessarily be in tune with mother. They don't have fatherly instincts, right?
Motherly
a mother
instincts.
would have. They don't have that, right? We have motherly instincts naturally. And I think that's based on the amount of hormones we have in our bodies, right? So like, because of that, we're naturally going to treat children that way. Whereas a guy or a man would have trouble doing that. Because to them, it's just like, well, why are you crying over a balloon? Grow up. But they're like 5 years old. So you can't really tell a 5-year-old to grow up.
I would get them a new balloon. Honestly, that's what I would actually.
That's exactly what I was thinking to me.
I'll just get them a new balloon, innit? It's not everyday cry.
Yeah,
it's not everyday.
That's the problem. You're not meant to get them a new balloon. They let go of the balloon. So they just have to be reminded every time that they step outside that they were the ones that let go of the balloon.
And I have to be reminded. And I have to be reminded every time they go outside.
They will forget. No, I said they will eventually forget. Rani eventually forgot.
How long did it take for her to forget?
3 weeks.
That's a long
That's
time.
a
I
long
lie.
time.
He
Yeah.
has a good memory. They generally have a good memory. I remember promising to get them something from Disney. They reminded me every time I came back to London that I didn't get them that thing from.
See, that's 2 weeks too many for my liking.
You could have just distracted them with something else.
Honestly.
You can try, but she was very like, oh, do you remember when I let go of the balloon? And I was like, oh yes, I'm so sorry, Ronnie. Get in the car. You know. That's kind of how you have to deal with it.
Nah, that's a bit mad. But yeah, any other points people want to bring out why men tend to veer to logic and women to emotion? Because I have something else I want to say, but I'll let you guys. So I also think another reason is how gender roles are perceived, how gender roles are what's the word I'm looking for? Gender roles are viewed in society. So men are told they can't really cry. They should be manly. They should be toughen up. They shouldn't really show emotion. They should be logical. They should be men, basically. Whilst women tend to be more doting, more caring, more motherly. And as a result of that, as well as naturally, men tend to be more logical, women tend to be more emotive. Society furthermore adds to this by casting gender roles to each gender that suit what each gender should be, which is a fair enough point, but it just adds to the reasons as to why men tend to be logical and women tend to be emotive. I could also go on rambling even more, bringing up sociological studies, but I'm not going to do that to the listeners. So yes.
Interesting.
I don't know. I mean, because of this whole new wave of feminism, I'm not really sure if that's an argument.
Yo, listen. Even with this new wave of feminism, gender roles are still going to be set in society no matter what. That's just it's a fact of life. You can hang your hat on this. And normally I'll take off my cap, but the trim is lacking at the moment.
Yeah.
So the caps will stay on. You can really tell as well. It's bad. Boris needs to let us.
Can
Boris
I just
needs to
say that what you just said, Tommy, that's based on an imperfect society. These gender roles that people are making up, the characteristics. It's just based on imperfect society. That's not how it was meant to be, ever. Just saying.
So
if you want to.
So hold up. Shan, I'm gonna rebuttal that. So you're telling me that it's not always meant to be that men should be like working, should be working, should be disciplined.
Whoa, you're putting words in my mouth. I did not say that.
Listen, why? You're not letting me talk. You're not letting me talk. You're not letting me express myself. You're just interrupting me. Let man. So you're telling me that men and women, they weren't created to have you're telling me men and women weren't meant to have specific gender roles, first of all. That's what you're telling me, first of all.
Not these modern day roles, no.
I said what it's based on an imperfect society. So these roles where, so for example, say people say, oh yeah, men can't cry. If a guy wants to cry, if he needs to, then let him go into a room. If he wants to, he can cry in front of his mom, his friends. If he needs to cry, let him cry. But that's just based on what this imperfect society says. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you for elaborating your point. I have nothing else to say. Anyways.
Okay.
Now, because you've elaborated the point, you've explained the point you've explained your point, so I have nothing else to say because the point you made earlier was something I could rebuttal, but this one I can't really rebuttal. So, thank you.
I mean, if people want to cry, they want to cry
in
front of people.
Hey, if you want to cry, innit?
Cry as much as you want, but that's not going to solve your issue.
Yeah.
That is just how I feel. But I also think, like, in Bible times, women had more rights in general, and they weren't seen as emotional and dainty as they are now. I think that's also another point
That
of
is
how
true.
society. They owned land. They had their own stuff going on. In today's society, it's an anomaly. Like, if a woman is successful and things like that, it's seen as such high regard, when back in the day it wasn't seen like that. It was normal. I think that's another thing. And it also wasn't the sole job of the women to be looking after the children as well, or, you know, having an impact in their lives either. I just think society has just changed in that way. It was both parents to provide emotional and, knowledge. It was both their jobs. So I think that's also changed. Just to further add to Shan's point.
Thank you.
That makes sense.
Yes. So we'll move on to the last question, which is